there is a function that is very closely related to countifs. With countifs we've got to know how many people are higher than 180. Then with SUMIFs we can get to know what is for instance not the count of all men, but sum of all men's weights. Let's say we want to know whether all the men are going to fit into an elevator if they want to drive with it, so we need the sum of all men's weights. Okay, so equals SUMIFs, parentheses, and the first thing is what's going to be summed. So weights are the ones that are to be summed. Semicolon, and now comes criteria range 1. So we need to know what to look for men, so criteria range 1 is sex, and semicolon, quotation marks, M. So there is one additional parameter in the parentheses in here. It's the thing that has to be summed together after checking for those criteria, sex and M. Okay, now let's say we have something different. We want to get to know what is the average height of all men. Notice average height of all men, not the sum of all men's heights. So first of all, let's find the sum of all men's heights. And it goes like this, equals SUMIFs, parentheses, and the range we're summing is height. Now comes semicolon, and criteria range is the one we're checking. We're checking whether it's a man, so it's sex, semicolon, quotation marks, M. And we get the sum of all men's heights. It's 1092 centimeters. Now, all we have to do to find an average is to, well, divide it by countifs. So countifs tells us how many men are there. So we write divided by countifs, parentheses. We're checking whether it's a man, so sex is the criteria, criteria range, semicolon, and criteria value is quotation marks M. And here it is. The average height of a man is 182 centimeters. Now there is another way of doing this, namely with countifs and SUMIFs. There's also a function called averageifs. So we write equals averageifs, parentheses, and now we're averaging heights. This is the first thing, average range, semicolon, and criteria range is we're checking for sex, and we're checking whether it's a man. Criteria itself is M, and the same answer, 182 is what it gives us. Okay, and now to even more complicated thing. We want to see something again that checks many things. We want to see if it's a man, and we want to see if he weighs over 80 kilos, and then if it's a man, if he is a man, if he weighs over 80 kilos, then we just want his average height this time. Okay, so let's start writing it. Equals SUMIFs, parentheses. We want the average height, so we sum all the heights together and then divide it by countifs and get the average height. So we're summing at the beginning. We're summing all the heights. So sum range is height. Okay. Semicolon. Now our criteria, what we're checking is whether it's a man. So it's sex, semicolon, quotation marks M. And now comes the second criteria, whether he weighs over 80 kilos. So we write in the end here, semicolon, and we're checking weight, semicolon, quotation marks over 80, quotation marks. And here it is. If it's a man, and if he weighs over 80 kilos, we will sum his heights, and we get the sum of all the heights. It's going to be 739 centimeters. And now we need to divide it by the number of all men over 80 kilos. So, dividing it by COUNTIFs, parentheses, criteria is that sex is M, and another criteria is that weight is over 80 kilos. And here it is. Sorry, it seems to find 0 in here. Sex is M, weight has to be inside quotation marks, over 80 kilos. And here it is. These men have average height of 184, almost 75 centimeters. So we've seen COUNTIFs, we've seen SUMIFs, we've seen SUMIFs divided by COUNTIFs. Here, even more difficult one with many criteria. We've seen AVERAGEIFs, which does the same work as SUMIFs divided by COUNTIFs. And now one more thing. In some old Microsoft Excel workbooks, if someone else has made them, you might encounter a function which is called not SUMIFs as a plural, but SUMIF as a singular. And in this case, this is an older function in Excel. And in SUMIF, in singular, you may not use many criteria, like we did in men over 80 kilos. You may use only one single criteria. And that means that's the difference. And the other difference is that the order of our things in parentheses, of our parameters, the order is changed. So with SUMIF, first thing you have to write down is the range we are checking. So if we want the sum of all men's weights, we take the sex, okay, then semicolon, quotation marks M, so we're checking whether sex is M, and semicolon, we're adding together the weights. So this is the order in here in SUMIF: sex, M, weight. And in SUMIFs, it's weight, sex, M. So the difference is in the order. The order in SUMIFs makes more sense if there are many criteria. So first what to sum, then the criteria to check, the criteria to check, the criteria to check. This order makes more sense in SUMIF. The order makes more sense if there is a single criteria. So just a less advanced function that you know. And we'll come back to this sheet later on as well. But this is a short introduction to SUMIFs, COUNTIFs.